Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS NFL Week 4 Bengals, Panthers in Carolina. Interesting one here. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWAS. The SWAS. SWAS. Hey, get the SWAS.
All right, so like I said, Cincinnati's on the road here. Panthers are catching 4.5 points at home. Total sitting at 47 or 46.5. I actually see a 47.5 too. So total anywhere in between 46.5 and 47.5, depending on your sports book. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pie charts. And according to this data, action's coming in heavy on the Bengals side. 70% of the tickets, over 80% of the money. Again, as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So what do we think about this matchup? Well, as I'm sure you've heard, Bengals not off to the greatest start here, 0-3, 1-2 against the spread, but I'm not mad at them because the only time I've bet the Bengals this year was the one win against the Chiefs. Cincinnati plus 5.5 or plus 6 was one of my top bets that week. So I'm not mad at the Bengals, but I'm sure Bengals fans aren't pleased with it. So far as the play calling goes, we've seen a lot of throwing the ball, 4th in pass frequency, 26th in pace. Not running the fastest pace in terms of plays per game. But if you look at their offensive numbers, I mean, they look pretty good. 11th in yards per play, 3rd in success rate, 4th in EPA. Passing numbers, 16th in yards per pass attempt, 9th in success rate. Rushing numbers, 13th in yards per carry, 3rd in success rate. So the offensive numbers look pretty good. And if you look at the Bengals game so far, it was really just one bad game. The opener against New England, just 10 points, 224 yards in that one. Since then, this offense has been good. They look good in the Chiefs game. They look good in the Commanders game. It's really just one bad game, and that's kind of understandable. T. Higgins didn't play in that game. Jamar Chase missed all of camp. So as disappointing as this start to the season has been for Cincinnati, the offense looks all right. It was really just one bad game when their star receiver missed all of camp. The offensive line's been pretty good. They're actually 1st in adjusted line yards, 11th in yards before. They're doing a decent job in pass protection, 7th in pressure rate allowed, 16th in pass block grade, 16th in adjusted sack rate. And they're matched up against Carolina's defense. 22nd in yards per play, 26th in success rate, 27th in EPA. Not particularly good against the run or the pass. Pretty much bottom 10 in both. This Panthers defensive front is struggling. 29th in adjusted line yards, 25th in run defense grade, 27th in yards before contact. Not generating pressure either. 21st in pressure rate, 24th in adjusted sack rate. So both the run defense and the pass rush have been failing here for Carolina. I will say last week was a solid defensive effort. I know if you look at the final score, the Raiders ended up scoring like 21 points or 22 points or something, but it was 33-7 in the fourth quarter. The Raiders scored a couple touchdowns in garbage time. The defense looked fine for Carolina. A lot of the yardage, a lot of the points, like I said, were in garbage time. So we do have to give Carolina credit for a solid defensive performance against the Raiders last week. But here's the thing about the Panthers defense that I don't like in this matchup. They run all zone coverage. In fact, they're 32nd in man coverage frequency. So far this year, the Bengals have been throwing against a lot of man coverage. The Patriots, the Chiefs, the Commanders, all in the top half of the NFL in terms of man coverage frequency. Carolina, just 15.1% of their defensive snaps have been in man coverage this year. That's the least in the NFL. The reason that's significant is Joe Burrow has excellent numbers throwing the ball against zone coverage. Over 8.7 yards per attempt, over 102 passer rating, much better than his numbers against man coverage. And that's not just this year either. Joe Burrow was much better against zone coverage last year as well. Joe Burrow has been pretty good against zone coverage for multiple seasons now. So against the Panthers, who run basically nothing but zone coverage, definitely don't like the matchup. And I know these splits are concerning here. Joe Burrow failing to get the ball downfield when given a clean pocket, and the numbers looked like that last year as well. But against the Panthers, who are going to be sitting back in zone coverage all day, I really think Joe Burrow's able to make plays here, and I think these numbers will look a lot better after this week. Not to mention, Carolina's defense is not in good shape right now. Dane Jackson out, Jordan Fuller out, DJ Wanham out, Shy Tuttle out, A'Shawn Robinson is even questionable. So this Panthers defense not only struggling, but they're not healthy at all. So overall on this side of the ball, I like the matchup for the Bengals offense a lot. I think Zach Moss and Chase Brown will be able to make plays on the ground as well. I already mentioned I like the matchup for Joe Burrow. So I think Cincinnati's offense should have a field day here. I like the matchup for the Bengals offense. But what about the Cincinnati defense? And I think I can speak for everyone when I say we have some concerns about the Cincinnati defense. They're 14th in yards per play, 29th in success rate, 30th in EPA, struggling against the pass, 9th in the NFL in yards per carry. But look at the success rate, 27th, 31st in EPA. But here's the thing about the Bengals defense. And look, I know if you watch this channel, you've seen me defend Lou Anarumo plenty of times. But if you actually look at the game so far, how many bad defensive performances have we seen from Cincinnati? It's pretty much just one. The loss against the Patriots in the opener, that wasn't on the defense. The offense kept giving the ball right back to New England. The offense didn't do anything. They lost the game 16-10. Yeah, Stevenson had a big game running the ball, but most of the yards were after contact. He had a career day. That wasn't a terrible defensive performance. And then after that, on the road in Arrowhead Stadium against Mahomes, game of the week, the defense only allowed, what was it, 286 total yards in the game, 5.1 yards per pass, 4.7 yards per rush. That wasn't a bad defensive performance. They lost 26-25 on a last-minute deep pass interference call. So through the first 2 weeks of the season, I wouldn't say either were bad defensive performances from the Bengals. Now, last week on Monday Night Football, that was a bad defensive performance. Commanders, I mean, they scored, 38 points or something in the game. This Commanders offense looks really good. I'm not trying to make an excuse for the Bengals defense. It was a terrible performance, but Washington has scored on every single drive for the second consecutive week. Washington hasn't failed to score on a drive since week 1, which is crazy. There's a stat that CBS shared about it. Apparently, it had only happened 10 times since 2000, and Jaden Daniels did it twice already in 3 starts. I'm not sure. Google it. I don't have the stat in front of me. It was something crazy. Basically, what I'm saying is this Washington offense is catching everybody off guard. It was a bad defensive performance from Cincinnati. The point I was trying to make is if you look back at the Bengals schedule so far this year and look at the 3 losses, really only one of them I would classify as a bad defensive performance. So because it happened on Monday Night Football, everyone was watching, was against a rookie quarterback. Everyone has already decided that the Bengals defense is terrible. I would pump the brakes on that. I don't know if it's quite this bad. It's not going to be a good defense. I just think it's a little undervalued at the moment. But speaking of undervalued, look at the Panthers' offensive numbers on the year. 26th in yards per play, 31st in success rate, 29th in EPA, looking like one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Until Andy Dalton takes over, and obviously that's the lead story in Panthersville. In weeks 1 and 2, Carolina 6.5 points per game, 176 total yards per game. In week 3 with Andy Dalton, 36 points, 437 total yards. And this Carolina offensive line is doing a good job. They're 12th in pressure rate allowed, 4th in pass blocking grade. The problem was not the offensive line. In fact, Bryce Young was one of the least pressured quarterbacks in the NFL through weeks 1 and 2. He just wasn't taking advantage of it. And this Cincinnati pass rush isn't good. I mean, 20th in pressure rate, 28th in pass rush grade, 23rd in adjusted sack rate. So I don't expect the Bengals to be able to generate pressure on Andy Dalton. Now, you can point at the Panthers offensive line. They're a little banged up. Damian Lewis not going to play in this game. Robert Hunt is also questionable. Those are the 2 big free agency signings Carolina brought in. So that's a concern. But look at the Panthers' defensive front. They are also banged up, maybe even more so. Both D tackles most likely out for this game, and Trey Hendrickson is sick or something. He hasn't practiced. I'm pretty sure he's dealing with the illness. He hasn't practiced all week. In case you're unfamiliar with the Bengals defense, Trey Hendrickson has been the entire pass rush for the Bengals for multiple years. He might not even play in this game. Now, I mean, Sam Hubbard's all right. That was a little bit of an exaggeration, but if Trey Hendrickson doesn't play in this game, both D tackles are out. How can we expect Cincinnati to generate pressure here? They're going to get bullied on the defensive front. Keep in mind that Carolina offensive line, they got 2 good tackles, they got a good center. That's a good unit even without those 2 guards. And if there's one thing Andy Dalton has shown us over the last few years, even as he ages, if you give him a clean pocket, he can score points. I mean, that's been abundantly clear. You scroll back multiple years on PFF, you go to the clean pocket splits, you sort it, 2023, 2022. Andy Dalton's right up there. I mean, you give Andy Dalton a clean pocket, it doesn't matter what team he's on, he's able to make the throws. Now, I'm not sitting here being like, hey, Andy Dalton, top 10 quarterback or anything. I'm just saying as far as his current skill set goes, you give him a clean pocket, he can make the throws. And I think he's going to have a clean pocket in this game. So I don't know how we can put faith in the Bengals defense. So where does that leave us in terms of placing a bet? Obviously on the over. I like the matchup for both offenses. Don't like the matchup for both defenses. Little worried about the Bengals' pace of play. They tend to run a little bit of a slower pace, but I got it at 46.5. Not a terrible number. Looks like some sharp action came in on the over early in the week at 44.5, 45. So missing the number a bit. I don't care. I think we're going to see points in this one. I think I'm on the right side. Give me the over. If you'd like to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone on the staff here. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 cash and one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. If you're interested, head over to the website and sign up. Live shows Saturday morning, 10 a.m. up to kick off the college football show. We'll go through as many games as we can. I think we have 29 queued up for Saturday. And then Sunday morning NFL show, 11 a.m. up to kickoff. We'll be live for 2 hours. We'll go through every single game on the board. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a nice weekend, coming off a real nice weekend last weekend. But since I've lost the Jags and the Cowboys, not coming into this weekend with some momentum, let's bounce back. Remember to bet responsibly. I'll talk to you in the Discord.